Managing spaces in an organization can be rather challenging. Sometimes meeting rooms and common spaces that everybody uses are the most popular things, and you probably don't have enough to go around, truth be told, so you really need to figure out a way to manage them in some way, shape, or form. That's why there are room signs. So we're going to talk about why room signs are an awfully good idea. I'm going to sit here and talk with Sean Matthews, President and CEO of Visix. Hello, Sean.
Hello, Derek. Thanks for having me.
And I'm here with Joe Murray, Systems Engineer and Architect, also for Visix. Hi, Joe.
How's it going?
Good. I'd like to thank the both of you for coming on and talking to me today, and I'd like to thank all of you for listening. This is digital signage done right. Whether you're new to digital signage or a seasoned pro, this podcast gives you practical advice about systems, communications, and content to better engage your audience. I'm Derek DeWitt, Communications Specialist for Visix. Welcome to Digital Signage Done Right. So, I've got all these spaces in my organization. I need some help managing it all so that it's not a kludge. How can room signs help me?
Well, I mean, room signs have been around now electronic room signs have been around for about 15, 18 years. And we got involved in that particular market segment simply because the most popular deliverable on digital signs happens to be event schedules. And the room sign is just an extension of that event schedule down to the individual room itself. So there's an individual calendar associated with each room. And you can either book that room from the normal applications that you use, or in some cases with interactive room signs, you can walk up and book the room if it's available right at the door.
It's like a touchscreen.
Yes.
I mean, they're certainly modern, I'd say. I mean, instead of making a bunch of photocopies or handwritten signs and sticking them up, it doesn't look so great when the corporate big boys are coming.
Yeah, I mean, so what we would see historically is that, an administrative assistant would walk around the building every day, or an intern, and they would replace the 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper that had today's events, printed out of Exchange or Outlook or whatever it was at that time. And it would be inserted into a little plastic folder mounted on the wall. And of course, they would do that every day, day in and day out. And of course, if anything changed throughout the day, either somebody used a marker and crossed it out, or they printed a new piece of paper and re-delivered it. So it was, it was sort of caveman-like updating, right? I mean,
and whoever had the nicest handwriting got stuck with the job.
Right.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah, particularly if you couldn't print out a new version. So, if you think about the effectiveness of the room sign, I mean, it really provides individuals with up-to-date information with regards to whether or not the room is available. And that's most important today in organizations where these open floor space designs are really, gaining in popularity. And so the hoteling space is used throughout the day. And it's, often that people are looking for a place to go work and, close the door and huddle up and work on a project. And there are far fewer of those rooms than there are open spaces. So availability definitely becomes an issue.
Right. Well, a lot of these have availability lights on them, right? What are they? Red means it's occupied.
Correct. Yeah. So we actually have two models that have the availability lights. We've got the Connect room signs, which have those red and green lights. And then we have the Touch Tin room signs, which also have the red and green lights on them.
And we've talked about, sometimes people want to have a little, if you look down the hall and you can see that the room light bar is an amber color, that might mean that there's 10 minutes left or 5 minutes left.
Exactly.
Oh, I see.
So we're looking into that.
It's going to free up soon is what that would mean.
So we're looking into that with Signage Suite and our Touch Tins, because those are actually RGB LEDs in those units, so they can be any color we want.
Oh.
And so potentially a little sneak peek on the podcast for you right there.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's super exciting. Now, obviously, the EPS, the electronic paper signs, they don't have these availability lights.
Exactly, yes. They are paper white displays themselves. So sort of like a Kindle, you get that really cool, very printed text look and feel to the displays themselves, but no LEDs.
Are they backlit at all? Or
they're not backlit, but just like sort of a piece of paper, you don't generally need that. They work well in very low light scenarios. Obviously, pitch black, you're going to have a problem, but it works well in a high range of lights, basically, which is great. That's exactly what we wanted. No eye strain for those.
So we have basically 3 different products, as Joe described, and from a market segmentation perspective, the Touch Tin room sign is a highly customizable interactive sign that includes really virtually an unlimited number of interactive elements, including wayfinding directories, event schedule manipulation. I mean, it's a full-blown interactive sign. Our Connect room sign is designed to be a much more standalone room sign product. It's prepackaged software. It's an Android solution that's very easy to bring up and online quickly.
So that's an out of the box. Boom, it's ready to go.
That's correct. Yeah. So the touch product can be out of the box, but its fundamental design is such that it can be fully customized. You can fully brand that design, plus the user experience can be whatever you want it to be, versus a shrink wrapped product, which is much more cost effective, but it's designed with more constraints. But as a result, it's very effective at what it does in the room management world. The third product that we have in our offering, which Joe just mentioned, was the electronic paper sign based on the e-ink platform. And that's a much different technology because it only consumes any power or energy whenever the image or the event schedule is being updated.
Right, when it changes.
Yeah,
exactly.
Other than that, it's completely wireless. Also includes, or you can choose as an included option, customized frames to go around it so you can brand it to the architectural design or the interior design of the building that you're trying to match it to.
Right. So we definitely hit, basically every product category. Just like Sean said, you've got the touch tins, which you're going to want to customize. They're just so cool. You can change basically any aspect you want on screen.
And by that you mean what? Colors, fonts?
Oh, anything, honestly.
Hotspots.
Behaviors, hotspots,
Really?
fonts, coloring. It's basically anything you want, we can probably put on that touch tin. So it's great. Now, we do have out-of-the-box stuff, like you said. So, we have these Signage Suite bundles where you can just download them onto your server and, get that going if you want to hit the ground running. But you're going to want to, make changes because every customer does. You want to brand stuff. So that's what the touch tins
the
do.
truism. Give somebody a template. The first thing they want to do is change it. Yeah.
Exactly. But if you do want to be more standalone, if you do want to be more just turnkey out of the box, then that's really what the Connects are for, and Paperwhite as well. So we really have something for everyone. And then, the Paperwhites being wireless, just, a lot of people
You just pick
love
them up.
that.
I mean, how do they mount? Is it like Velcro or something? Or
It's like a double-sided tape solution, basically.
because they're really light.
They're very lightweight, and there are truly no wires involved whatsoever because it's powered with just a handful of button cell batteries. And they go for, depending on how much your schedule changes, they usually go for months and months at a time. It's great.
And then you just swap the batteries.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, the Connect Room Sign, from a mounting perspective, people often ask about, the lightweight mounting techniques that we use, can easily be removed from the wall. But we also include a mounting bracket that can be mounted to the wall using drywall anchors. So if you're mounting in that environment...
If you're confident this is going to stay.
Yep.
You're right.
Yep. And in that particular case scenario, we include security screws as well so that some kid can't just walk along and take it off the wall without it ripping up the wall.
Right. Some kid. And glass mounting, too, I think you guys have.
Yep, and on the glass mount side, we just incorporate some 3M quality product where we're just using really adhesive bonding, to mount a glass.
Make sure that glass is clean. What about, say,
Seriously.
integrating with... because otherwise it's going to fall off.
Yeah, there's going to be problems.
Don't blame me. What about, say, integrating with something like room board and interactive wayfinding as a part of it all? How does that work?
So that's definitely more of our touch tins. Our creative department loves working with Signage Suite. We definitely used a lot of their input when designing Signage Suite, and so their creative projects can integrate really well with Access TV Engage. And so if you see yourself using more wayfinding stuff, more room board stuff, and you really want it to be just perfectly customized to exactly what you want, probably the touch tins are going to be best for you.
Right.
Because our Connect series doesn't really integrate with our creative project, and our Paperwhite solution doesn't really either. So really, Signage Suite, Engage, and touch tins are going to be what you want for that.
And the idea behind the room board, to be clear, is that in an environment where you might have a lot of different rooms that are available for booking or hoteling spaces, which might be workstations, imagine you walk into the lobby and there's an electronic sign there, a digital sign, which has a layout of the particular floor, and you can see from that layout in the lobby which spaces are available. And
Right then and there.
Right, and so you can book them from that location, and then of course then it populates the room sign itself, which is actually the destination. So it's interactivity at the lobby before you even get back into the space.
So I don't have to go and actually go to... Though I can, if I'm in front of the sign, I can book stuff right there at the sign and
Correct.
extend meetings or whatever, end them, cancel them. But you can, with the room board, you could do that from anywhere.
Well, in a lobby, let's
Like
say.
in a
for
lobby,
example.
yeah.
Right. You've got basically, I guess the ideal scenario for the room board is you've got a very large touchscreen of some sort and just is really an eye catch, and then you've got the little touch tins, which are their endpoints, usually in front of the meeting rooms, and so you get this really cool sort of full experience.
Well, that all sounds quite interesting, and yet I think a lot of people are going to ask, well, why don't I just use a tablet? Isn't it the same thing? Why should I buy this room sign when I can just go get a consumer-grade tablet?
Right. And I mean, the idea is certainly tempting. You know, we're used to our consumer-grade products, and we use our iPads and our Android tablets all the time, so why not just, duct tape that to a wall and call it a day? And unfortunately, those devices are meant to do a whole bunch of things pretty well, but no one thing stupid well. And so you end up running into an issue where you can't customize it as much as one of our Touch 10s. It's not purpose-built to do that, so you might get more screen burn-in. You're going to have to handle updates in a more clunky manner than our own products, which have remote upgrade capabilities. It's just not ideal. Our stuff is going to be more rugged. We really designed it with, constant use in mind, as opposed to a tablet, which is not supposed to be on 24/7.
Right. I mean, they overheat.
Exactly. You're just going to hit problems.
Right.
Yeah. Other disadvantages to the tablet approach is that the consumer grade tablet runs on 110 AC, and so someone's going to have to run an electrical drop to that space.
Yeah, that's right.
The cost associated with that electrical drop far exceeds the low voltage drop of running a PoE pole there, which is going to take care of both data and power. Additionally,
that's power over Ethernet.
Yep,
correct.
Yep, power. And additionally, so once you even have the power pull to that location, mounting a consumer grade device to a drywall or cinder block wall or some other surface, even glass mount, the product was never designed to be mounted in that fashion, right? And so it's one thing to simply mount it with like a pop socket or something like that, but the reality is that you can walk away with that device. And of course, a tablet is much more appealing as something to walk away with than
a room sign.
Yeah, a purpose-built device that has a very specific purpose, which includes availability lights. And most of the tablets don't really have any support for these third-party availability lights that are out there.
And of course, when it comes to integrating with, say, calendaring systems, again, because room signs they're created for this purpose.
Exactly. That is what our software does
That's
on
all
these
it
room
does.
signs. Right.
Yeah, like you're not going to watch cat videos.
Right. You're not going to get distracted with
Touch 10.
other stuff. You're not going to open up, Chrome, on one of our systems. Meanwhile,
check your
with
email.
an iPad or something, you're just going to be like, I'm just going to open up a web browser and start messing around. Then who knows what state you're going to leave it in after that.
Yeah, exactly. I can imagine the mischief,
Right.
Or then you have to turn the touchscreen off, and then
it defeats the purpose of a lot of us. Right.
Yeah, what's the point in even having that, right? What about resource tracking? By that I mean, so I think some of your room signs allow you to say, hey, in this room there's a projector, there's this, there's that, there's whatever, a fish tank, I don't know what.
Yeah. So Connect out of the box has some pretty basic resource management. So basically you can say things like, oh yeah, we've got a conference phone in here, we've got a projector, we've got a whiteboard, and then those icons will pop up at the top right of your Connect room sign. And then let's say, the projector bulb goes out or something, it's got to be replaced. A user can actually go to the Connect room sign, tap the little projector icon at the top right, and then it'll actually, you can configure it to send an email to IT and say like, oh, hey, users reported that, the projector's out, that the internet's out, the Wi-Fi's out, something like that. Which is pretty nice, as opposed to
instead of sending someone around to check and go, oh, this is this.
Exactly.
Yeah, and the other piece to that, of course, it does create a permanent record of what went wrong in that room. So from a facilities and purchasing perspective, it affords buyers the opportunity to look back at the trouble tickets that exist for a particular room to understand which technologies they purchased in that room, which ones were used, which ones failed more often, so that as they begin looking at their enterprise resource planning for the next year or whatever and budgeting for that year, they might steer away from certain technologies that either went unused or appeared to have a tendency to fail more often. And sometimes we know that it's not necessarily a technical failure, it's just that they've chosen a technology that the typical user isn't either comfortable with or doesn't understand, therefore they report it as failing. And again, that helps these buyers understand that, hey, these types of technologies aren't working well, not because they're technologically deficient, but our users don't understand how to use them.
Right. So either we need to replace them or get some training out there. Right.
Yep.
Am I wrong that very often if you use, it's not even if you open it up, if you use a consumer grade tablet in a commercial environment, very often that'll just void the warranty?
It certainly can. It certainly can. Because again, like I was saying earlier, they're just not meant to be on 24/7. At least their screens are not meant to be on 24/7. You'll start getting weird issues like backlight bleed, where the picture will look weird. You'll start getting dead pixels more often. You'll get a lot of screen burn-in. You'll have heat issues. Listen, I love tablets as much as the next guy, but they're really not meant for enterprise applications for the most part. That's what more specialized enterprise-grade hardware like ours is meant to do.
Yeah, it's very tempting, I think,
right.
though. So you've got the 3 different products. Each one kind of almost for a different environment, it seems. What would be like the best environments for these, like Connect versus Touchdown versus EPS?
So I would say touch is certainly for people who want to have the most flexibility, want to be able to change any element on screen, and want to have the most interactivity as well. Because you can use two-way booking, or use one of our own creative projects, or you can make your own functionality via hotspots in Engage. So definitely the most flexible environments need touch. And then if you need a little less flexibility and really just want the core two-way booking functionality, that's really what Connect would be for. And, it still offers some, minor changes. You can change some of the font attributes. You can change, the background picture, things like that. But pretty minimal, more out of the box, ready to go stuff. And then you've got Paperwhite, which I think you guys had a specific case study you were thinking of for that?
Yeah, and I think another way to look at it, aside from the technological aspects and the feature aspects, are use case scenarios. And when you think about an environment where you have rooms that you want people to be able to walk up and book, right? Then you need to look at something like Touch or Connect. And the real difference there is, do you want something that can be fully branded and completely interactive, and you can create a unique customer experience? Then you go with something like Touch. If you don't need all of that functionality, then you look at something like Connect. But when you talk about room signs, if there's no need to have walk-up reservations and all you want to do is publish what's going on in that room.
It's just FYI.
Right. Then the electronic paper sign is perfect for that environment. It's also perfect for environments where you have spaces that move around or change quite often, so reconfigurable spaces. That's a perfect environment for the electronic paper sign, because you can easily move it around, whether it's taped or Velcroed, or you're using magnets even to move it around the space. It makes it very easy to reposition those signs.
Because there's no cabling.
Right. And also another good case scenario is in a conference center or conference facility where some of the rooms are designed for walk-up reservations, like let's call them executive offices, but you have several hundred smaller, huddle spaces. Then you reserve the availability lights and walk-up reservation for those executive suites versus those commonly used huddle spaces that the only thing that ever changes there is just the event schedule that someone's booked via an app or their normal calendaring system.
So that's why room signs over tablets, because tablets are just not for this.
Exactly.
Right. And of course it has a bunch of stuff you don't need, like a camera.
Right.
Speakers, right? Things like this, right? YouTube, right? All right. So thank you very much for talking to me today, Sean and Joe.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you, everybody, for listening. Hey, want more free stuff? Then head to the resources section of Visix.com for free masterclass guides, blogs, videos, and more to help you with your digital signs. Please share, subscribe, and leave a review of this episode, and connect with us on social media.